Welcome to your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest news, including a man arrested for sexually assaulting a woman while impersonating a police officer. Also, a big announcement coming from a Stamford-based company and much more. John Kovac joins us later to preview the front pages of our newspapers this week. Frank Granito will have your forecast and a Nutmeg Sports update, and Donald Lang will join us later to take a look back on this day in history. But first, a home health care aide was arrested in Milford January 21st on a warrant for allegedly using the credit card of a person she was caring for. Now, police say 21-year-old Kavana Sullivan of 59 Lombard Street in New Haven is accused of fraudulently using the credit and debit card last August, ringing up about $1,000 over several transactions. Now, Sullivan also held 2 active warrants for her arrest stemming from marijuana infraction and a failure to appear in court charge. Now, she has now also been charged with theft of a credit card, identity theft, and 10 counts of illegal use of a credit card. She is scheduled to appear in court on February 13th. And a Derby man is facing charges after police say he impersonated a Bridgeport police officer and sexually assaulted a woman in an abandoned city garage. Hearst, Connecticut media reports that 42-year-old George Santiago of 8th Street in Derby was arrested Wednesday on a warrant after an incident last summer. Now, Bridgeport police charged Santiago with first-degree aggravated sexual assault as well as threatening and impersonation of a police officer. Now, this assault took place on July 13, 2017 in an abandoned garage in the 50 block of Park Street, police said. On that day, Santiago pretended to be a Bridgeport police officer and allegedly sexually assaulted the woman in that garage. Santiago had a police-type radio, a law enforcement badge, and a firearm. Now, Police Captain Roderick Porter said that Santiago had the paperwork necessary to legally possess and carry that gun at the time. Well, his bond was set at $500,000. And in other news, a Reading man was discovered to have multiple bags of heroin as well as drug paraphernalia in his car when he was stopped by Newtown police responding to a report of an erratic driver. Now, 32-year-old Michael Paradise of Lone Town Road in West Reading was arrested and charged with possession of a narcotic and drug paraphernalia and some other charges around 5:30 p.m. on Monday. Newtown Police Department said they received a 911 call reporting that a silver GMC Blazer was swerving across all 3 lanes of travel on I-84. The caller told police that SUV drove into Newtown and on Wasserman Way almost hit a vehicle head-on, came to a dead stop in the middle of Wasserman Way, then continued westbound. Well, that Blazer then made a right turn onto Queen Street and stopped on the side of the road. Well, police at the scene reported that Paradise failed field sobriety tests. When officers searched his vehicle, they reportedly discovered multiple bags of heroin as well as paraphernalia, according to that report. And Stamford resident Jason Chisholm, 35 years old, was arrested this week for reckless driving related to a December mishap in New Canaan. On Saturday, December 30th at 1:30 a.m., the New Canaan police were dispatched to the 200 block of Trinity Pass Road on a report that a vehicle had rolled over and that the operator was possibly trapped inside. Well, when the police arrived at the scene, Crisham was standing outside of the vehicle. He told police he lost control as he negotiated a sharp curve while traveling westbound. Well, Crisham claimed he lost control when he was looking down at his cell phone, according to police. Well, a police investigation found that prior to crashing into a utility pole and a guardrail, Crisham's vehicle left 126 feet skid marks in the roadway. The speed limit on that road is 25 miles per hour. Well, Crisham was transported to Stamford Hospital by the New Canaan Volunteer Ambulance Corps for evaluation. And based on evidence at the scene and investigation into the crash, an arrest warrant was obtained for reckless driving. And a reward is being offered for an arrest made in an East Haven bank robbery. East Haven police posted on their Facebook page that the Connecticut Bankers Association is offering a $1,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of a robbery suspect. Now, this happened Wednesday, January 17th at the Webster Bank at 260 Main Street. The suspect allegedly handed a note to the teller and demanded money. Well, the suspect is described as a tall, white man in his 20s or 30s with a slim to medium build. He was wearing a black jacket, a New York Yankees hat, gloves, a black face mask, as well as khaki pants and work boots during that robbery. If you have any information, you can contact East Haven Police at 203-468-3827. And as Darien prepares for a wave of redevelopment at Norotan Heights, a separate study examining transportation and access at the train station and surrounding area is nearing its completion. Now, last week, the town hosted a public feedback session with an update on the Norotan Heights area study by the project consultants from NV5 Global. Now, that update offered a general overview of a possible infrastructure improvements in the area and some alternative designs to optimize the station's layout. Well, among the study's priorities are determining a new design for the station's main building, redistributing parking around the train station, as well as improving the roadways and traffic flow around Norotan Heights and adding connectivity to bus routes, bike paths, and other forms of transportation. Well, two major redevelopment projects at Palmer's Market and the Norotan Heights Shopping Center are expected to begin construction this year and will bring more than 100 new apartments to that area. The Metro North Station is also undergoing a complete platform replacement project that is expected to end in summer 2019. More on that story at DarienTimes.com. But let's get a look at the forecast with Frank Granito. Frank.
Did you catch my phone?
Yeah, the phone just went flying.
All right, Kate, we're looking at a mostly sunny afternoon around Fairfield County today. A little chilly out there as well, though. We've got some high gusts of wind coming our way, 25 to 30 miles per hour times in the afternoon. Looking at temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s. Clear skies overnight, cooler out again with temperatures in the mid-teens before what will be another sunny Friday around Fairfield County. Almost no clouds in the sky. Wind gusts starting to die down as well. Temperatures in the mid to high 30s. It'll be partly cloudy overnight tomorrow, a little mild out as we head for what should be a warmer Saturday. On and off periods of clouds coming our way on Saturday, but temperatures back in the mid 40s, possibly teetering out at 50 degrees. Should be a great day around the county. And then, unfortunately, short-lived. We could be looking at some showers, possibly snow coming our way at the end of the weekend and the start of next week. That'll do it for this weather update. Let's go back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. We're going to step out for a break. When we come back, Donald Ang will take a look back on this day in history. Frank has your Nutmeg Sports Update, and we have more local news after this.
Voted best gourmet to go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac.
I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Welcome back to this January 25th edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and it's time to take a look back on this day in history with Donald Ang, who only chews gum when he's driving. Is that right, Don?
That is correct, Kate. So the mystery thickens here. You know, Kate, actually, I try to do a little bit of education when I do these segments, and sometimes I learn something myself. Today's one of those days. We'll get to that in a second. First, though, to 1858, 16 years after its composition, Mendelssohn's Wedding March is played for the first time at an actual wedding. This would be the wedding of Princess Royal Victoria and the Crown Prince of Prussia. Now, Mendelssohn had been dead for 11 years, but his musical score for an 1842 production of A Midsummer Night's Dream was Victoria's favorite piece of music, and she requested the Wedding March at
her wedding. Now, the march is most commonly played today as a recessional. That is not to be confused with Here Comes the Bride. That is actually Wagner's wedding chorus that is usually used to open the ceremony. To 1905 now we go. At the premier mine in Pretoria, South Africa, a 3,106-carat diamond discovered during a routine inspection by the superintendent here, weighing 1.33 pounds and christened the Cullinan diamond after the mine's owner. The largest diamond ever found. It was cut into 9 major diamonds and 96 smaller ones. The 2 largest, imaginatively named Cullinan I and Cullinan II, are part of the English crown jewels. To 1915 now, Alexander Graham Bell inaugurates U.S. transcontinental telephone service, speaking from AT&T headquarters in New York to Thomas Watson in San Francisco. By then, Bell's initial 1876 phone transmission, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you," had become quite famous, and the two duplicated the line 3,400 miles away and about 40 years later. Finally, now we go to 1924, Chamonix, France. And in a moment there, you're going to be looking at the opening of the bobsled competition from the first Winter Olympics at the foot of Mont Blanc, the largest mountain in the Western Alps. Also at that moment there, you could have just had a eureka moment, realizing that bobsled is called bobsled because the sledders bob their bodies in sync back and forth to get the sled moving. 16 nations competed at the 16 events, Norway and Finland dominating the games, winning more than half the medals. The U.S. won 4 medals, including the silver in ice hockey, and to the surprise of no one, Canada won hockey gold, outscoring opponents 124-3 during the 8-day tournament. That is your look back in history for today, January 25th. Donald Dang.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, in other local news, a developer in Stratford is turning a rejected apartment proposal on Ferry Boulevard into an affordable housing application. That applicant, Rolling Thunder, wants to build a complex with 143 units in 3 buildings up to 5 stories high. Now, it's seeking a zone change and a wording change in the regulations called a text amendment to accomplish this. Now, the plan would create a new housing zone to be called the Rolling Thunder District, with 30% of those units designated as affordable under State Statute 8-30G, better known as the Affordable Housing Law. Well, the 2.5-acre site is at 382 Ferry Boulevard and Willow Avenue, and also borders backyards on Homestead Avenue and is near Housatonic Avenue. There's much more on that story at StratfordStar.com. And at least 7 Republican gubernatorial hopefuls are confirmed to appear this evening on The Marty Heiser Show, the Comcast cable television public access broadcast hosted by former Ridgefield Board of Finance member. Now, candidates who've confirmed their intention to appear on the show include Joe Visconti, Prasad Srinivasan, David Walker, Steve Upsitnik, Tony Boucher, Peter Lumage, and Peter Thallam, according to Heiser. Now, and there may be more GOP hopefuls in that broadcast as well. As a longtime Republican town committee member and former GOP elected official in Ridgefield, Heiser has recruited 3 local news people to question those candidates, including reporter Macklin Reed of our own Ridgefield Press, Danbury News-Times managing editor Gene Dubal, and political commentator Al Robinson of the Hat City blog. That live broadcast is tonight, January 25th, from 8 to 10 on Channel 23, available in Ridgefield to Comcast cable customers. That show will also be rebroadcast on several Connecticut cable services from Friday, January 26th to Tuesday, January 30th. More at theridgefieldpress.com. And in other political news, New Canaan's U.S. Congressman Jim Himes is scheduled to attend the New Canaan Advertiser Coffee this Friday, January 26th. Now, the weekly community gathering and open topic discussion is held at the New Canaan Historical Society from 9 to 10 a.m. All members of the community are invited to attend, and you can get more details at ncadvertiser.com. And after decades of helping others through their severe health crisis, Trumbull resident Karen Marlin now finds herself needing help. In late 2016, Marlin was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which doctors treated with chemotherapy and radiation. But last year, that cancer returned aggressively and has been deemed inoperable, according to her friend and former coworker Isabel Perez, who's also the wife of Bridgeport Police Chief Armando Perez. Well, Perez told our Trumbull Times that Karen is a single mother of 3 who's trying to support her children and meet meet her financial obligations, but she's been out of work for almost 2 years, and she's at a point in her life where she needs a helping hand. Well, Perez and others from the community held a fundraising dinner for Marlon back in November and are planning another in March. Now, this will be hosted by Trumbull resident Fred Garrity, who also organizes the annual CT United motorcycle ride. Details can be found on Facebook at Fundraiser for Karen Marlin or by calling Perez at 203-816-7398. You can also get more information at TrumbullTimes.com. And Stanford-based WWE announced this morning that Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon will make a major sports announcement today at 3 p.m., and it will be streaming live from the digital platforms of its new enterprise, Alpha Entertainment. Now, that live stream will be available via Alpha Entertainment's Twitter at Alpha ENT LLC, also on Facebook and on YouTube. Now, some outlets are reporting that McMahon will be relaunching the XFL, a pro football league that shut down after 1 year back in 2001. All right, well, let's throw it back over to Frank Granito now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
All right, thank you, Kate. We were at the Darien Ice House last night for a battle of the top 2 teams in the conference in girls hockey. New Canaan, Darien reviving their rivalry on the ice. The Rams taking the first matchup of the season between these two squads 2-1. It was their first win in 11 tries against their arch rival. Well, they can call it 2 in a row now after a 2-0 victory last night, and it was 3 freshmen who led the way stealing the show for the Rams. You got goals and assists from Courtney O'Connell and Kelly Benson, and of course Blythe Novick, the freshman goaltender, picking up the shutout, making 21 saves in the win. Let's look at the highlights from last night's Rams victory.
And really, both coaches are talked about getting shots at the net. I think that they know that it's setting up a well-engineered, well-designed play is going to be tough the way these defenses have played. Rich Buellin did say he's very happy with his team's energy tonight, and that shows.
Good shot opportunity there out of the slot. Stop. Another one here off the post. No, it's not in. Now it is. Goal! Strugan's pass was intercepted. And now, John, it is Darien who appears that they are unable to clear the zone as a pass sent towards the front of the net. They score!
Frank, I think that's going to be Benson from O'Connell again, because Benson was set up on the edge of the crease, and I think she poked that in.
So those are the lone 2 bright spots offensively in this game. Both defenses doing such a great job really protecting their goalies for the most part. And Blythe Novick in net only had great things to say about her playmates. After the game, she caught up with our own John Kovac.
Thanks, Frank. We're with Blythe Novick, freshman goaltender, 2-0 against Darien. Pretty good way to start your career.
Yes. I think our team played well in every aspect. We all tried really hard, and I think everyone on the team is really passionate about this game, so that really helped.
Now, they threw a lot of pucks at you, 21 shots, 21 saves. What kept you sharp?
Well, before the game, I talked to my goalie coach, and we kind of just talked about splitting up the game and really staying in there. And when we went in between periods, I just could try to stay up and keep my adrenaline going, so really play by play and keep my team in it and just play the best that I could. So.
Now, I noticed after the first period, your coaches, your teammates all came around. They rallied around you, a lot of patting on the helmet, telling you good job. How important was that?
It's really nice, to know that my team is supporting me, and that's always a good feeling. So it really helps keep me in there and know that my team needs me and everyone enjoys it. So I think altogether, everyone just played a really good game.
They needed you tonight. How big was that first goal to finally break through?
I think we talked about it a lot in the locker room, and we always talk about starting strong and whoever gets the lead. It's never a good feeling being the go-getter and having to come up from behind, so I think getting that early lead really was big motivation for all the girls.
Blythe, congratulations. Great game. Thank you so much. Frank, back up to you.
All right, thank you.
With the win, New Canaan remains atop the FCX, now 8-1 in conference play. They have 16 points. Darien falls a game behind Greenwich, who defeated Fairfield 5-2 yesterday. Cardinals now sitting with 14 points, and Darien with 12 in third. All 3 teams, though, still comfortably in the playoff picture. We'll have more on this game later on today on Nutmeg Sports, and we'll get you ready for girls basketball on the HAN Network tonight. Staples and Ward, a rematch of the Todd Berger final from back in December. Should be a lot of fun. Tip-off at 7. We're on the air at 6:50. For now, though, we're going back over to Kate Czaplinski.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. We're going to step out for a break. When we come back, John Kovac joins me to preview our front pages this week after this.
Get a fresh start to the new year by shaking up your meal routine. Walter Stewart's Market is your local source for a delicious selection of fresh and convenient salad shakers, like Southwest salad with chicken, Cobb with organic chicken, Power Vegan with fruit and quinoa, Greek salad with tabbouleh, and grilled shrimp with hominy. Grab one from our salad case or order from our deli today. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
Well, there's still a bite out on the water. Most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With 2 convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com. Well, there's still...
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm joined now by our editorial director, John Kovac, to preview our front pages this week. John, what are you looking at first?
I'm starting in Shelton, where we're following the news that broke over the weekend of an oil spill into the Housatonic, into the Naugatuck River, flowed down into the Housatonic. We'll have more on that later. A look at the School of Innovation. Shelton among the towns in Connecticut suing drug companies, trying to get some money to deal with the opioid epidemic, the arrest in the sexual assault of a Shelton team, and a proposal to turn Beacon Point Marina into an apartment complex, restaurant, and marina coming before P&Z in Shelton.
All right, I'm taking a look at the Easton Courier this week and a long saga around the acceptance of a new road, Adirondack Trail. That's been ongoing for quite a while since there were some concerns by planning and zoning that maybe there wasn't proper public notice. But now that road, Adirondack Trail, has been accepted as an official town road. And much more in the Easton Courier this week.
In Trumbull, Ray Baldwin, who was a police officer, who was first selectman, could soon be joining the police commission. The school board has trimmed the budget request. A look at the celebration of the centennial of the Nichols Fire Department, and a story you just brought us on a Trumbull nurse and her friends rallying around her.
All right, well, taking a look at the Stratford Star this week, candidates have been chosen for a special election to fill the 120th district seat. That one left open by Laura Hoydick, who was elected as mayor back in November. Also, the Board of Education approving a budget with no teacher layoffs. That has been a big story in Stratford, but they have found an arrangement where there will be no layoffs. Also, EPA seeks grant potential for Raymark site redevelopment. Interesting story, but a pair accused of filing forged ballot applications back in November, and a administrator leaving Stratford schools for a job in Stamford.
Darien continues its school budget discussions in several fronts. You also have continuing discussions about the Norotan Heights train station. Great photo by Brian Hafley of a curious turkey checking out the sign for the farmers market. A delay in the vote on the Oxridge Field recommendations. And a photo of a crash that's kind of gone global here. The Darien Times had gotten the photo from a Darien resident, John Bolton, over the weekend. Turns out the driver of the car, Steve Wilkos, host of the eponymous show, Apparently there's global interest in that
Oh,
because
yeah.
I know there's been conversations with newspapers in England.
Right, yeah, and Darien Times featured on TMZ as well, so
Yes,
kind
they
of
were.
interesting piece there. All right, well, taking a look at the Monroe Courier this week, Sewing for Girls Around the World, a great nonprofit working on some clothing to send overseas. Also, Masick Robots putting Monroe on the map. They have a really great program there. Planning and Zoning talking about a future for the long vacant Stevenson lumber area. More on that in this week's Monroe Courier. And Finance okaying expenditures totaling $1.5 million and a town meeting scheduled vote on Monday, February 12th.
Ridgefield's real estate market showed steady growth in 2017, but even with strong sales, prices are down. The school superintendent, Carol Baldwin, seeking a 4.83%. The Anti-Defamation League offering a reward in graffiti that's been plaguing Ridgefield. Shots of some Kempo students working out, and profile of the foreman of the Public Works Department.
All right, taking a look at the New Canaan Advertiser this week. New Canaan boys hockey having a win, and what made that more special was that game was dedicated to Nico Malazzi, that 10-year-old who died of flu complications last week. Also, parents pushing for later school start times in New Canaan, something we've seen come up in several of our other towns. Selectmen okaying funds to create parking structure plans, and some photos of folks enjoying the winter holidays on the ice.
The Reading Pilot reports that they're looking at the possibility of realigning the Long Ridge Road rail crossing in Reading, so that could be coming up in the very near future.
All right, a lot of news in Milford this week. Taking a look at the Milford Mirror, one of those big stories being that an armed customer thwarted a robbery at Smashburger. This was an armed robbery. Kind of an amazing story there. And then unfortunately, two of the employees of Smashburger allegedly taking advantage of that open safe situation and also being arrested for larceny. Also, more on some transit-oriented development plans and what folks are looking at for downtown Milford. Homeless shelter director to retire, and the school board increases its budget plan.
Wilton will be hosting its first winter carnival this Sunday from noon to 4. So we'll have, the Wilton Bulletin has all the information on that, plus a nearly 2% school budget increase proposed. There's a presentation on that tonight. A modern house, given historic designation, and a look at the women's marches and local residents who participated in those.
All right, taking a look at the Weston Forum this week. Weston High School senior will team with a Reading musician for a concert. That concert is going to be on Friday, February 9th, so a nice feature on that upcoming event.
In our arts and leisure, we look at uses for citrus fruits, and we explore the Orient with the New Canaan Historical Society.
And our special January 2018 education section in all our papers this week. One of those features being about music instruction and the benefits that it could offer as children are shown to score higher on their SATs and have better spatial reasoning and cognitive skills if they do have music instruction and know how to play an instrument. And a lot more in that great education section. John, we do have Yankee Fisherman coming up today, yes?
We will be talking with Jen Ripple, who is the founder, publisher, and editor-in-chief of Dunn Magazine. She will be leading the women's showcase at the Fly Fishing Show in Edison, New Jersey, and also preparing for an appearance in Connecticut. We'll also talk about the Fly Fishing Film Tour coming to Connecticut, and we're going to have an update on regulations.
All right, and Nutmeg Sports at 2, and basketball this evening on the HAN Network.
Girls basketball, Staples and Ward. It's a rematch of a great game we brought you earlier this winter.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break, but we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.